Be seated, please. Finish whatever you need. You're good. I jumped the gun there. All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're here this morning, case number MC51CR 714992012, Style Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus Tatum Zilius. The parties are present in the open court with counsel. Please check your cell phones, make sure they're on vibrate or silent so that we don't have any disruptions during court this morning. At this time, would the defendant please rise? All right.
Not guilty, Your Honor.
All right. I was going to ask you how you plead. All right, the defendant pleads not guilty. Are the parties prepared for opening statements? For the plaintiff?
Yes, sir.
All right, and for the defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, this time we'll have opening statements first by the prosecution.
May it please the court, Your Honor, and ladies and gentlemen of the jury. My name is Claire Keziah, and I shall be making the opening remarks in this case. Allow me to introduce my co-counsel, Ainsley Kinzer, Abby Graves, and Jack Jordan. I would also like to introduce the plaintiff, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. The issue in this case today is about a reckless, negligent project manager. Imagine this scenario. It's August 31st, 2012. Winds are howling and rain is pouring. This is the setting in which two overweight concave panels are to be lifted onto a roof. The manager of this project, though aware of these dangerous conditions, not only has the audacity to allow the lift to proceed, but she insists upon it. Why? Well, the manager of this project is in a vengeful hurry to meet a deadline, or else she will lose money. She even disregards the fact that the city must give her permission to lift overweight panels, but she and her crew proceed anyway. It is ultimately for her sake that the lifts take off, and so they do. During the first lift, the weather presents much difficulty, but nevertheless, the project manager deliberately overlooks these previous hazards and allows the second one to begin. However, the weather is getting even worse during this lift, so a government official comes and waves a red flag, signaling the dangerous lift to pause. Upon seeing this, the manager dashes from her office, runs to the official, and fights her for the green flag, ensuring it is waved. Upon her return, the most furious wind of the day gusts forth. The panel being lifted catches the furious gale, and the largest crane in the East Coast collapses. The government official and one of the people who lived where the project was being constructed lay lifeless and crushed beneath the mass of mangled steel. Their names were Grace Hopper and Artie Dent. And what was the name of this reckless, negligent project manager? Tatum Zilius. Today, we, the prosecution, must prove three things. One, that Grace Hopper is dead. Two, that the defendant killed her. And three, that she did so with malice. As the prosecution, we possess the burden of proof, meaning we must prove beyond reasonable doubt that these things are true. Our first witness will be London Packard. He is a homeless man, as some say, but in some sense, he is not homeless. Packard has been living in Franklin's Trench since 1975, the very trench in which Zilius' Project Z was being constructed. You will be informed that he is a first-hand observer of the work that went on in the trench and self-entitled leader of the people who live there. He will testify of the injuries he saw happen on the job site, as well as the extreme conditions in which the big lifts took place, as well as a letter from the city saying the lifts were not yet approved. Our second witness will be Emerson Turkin, the site supervisor for Project Z. Turkin will testify how Zilius fervently displayed an attitude of prioritizing time over more important matters, even after she promised such an attitude was behind her. He will affirm that the panels were over the max weight limit of the crane. You will learn of his concern that some of the people living near the trench were plotting something and how Zilius replied, saying what they were up to was of little importance. Finally, Turpin will inform you of how Zilius acted recklessly and negligently from the project's beginning, leading up to its end, including the fact that he saw Tatum Zilius fight Grace for the green flag. Our opponent will argue that the defendant is not guilty, but you will see that their explanation of the facts that took place will fall short of presenting reasonable doubt to the defendant's guilt. We will meet the burden of proof today. We are going to ask that Tatum Zilius be found guilty of third-degree murder due to the malice manifested in her recklessness and negligence. Thank you.
All right, at this time, we'll have an opening statement from the defense. You guys can bring the lectern over here. You guys, okay.
May it please the court, Your Honor, and ladies and gentlemen of the jury, my name is Grace Garrett, and I will be presenting the opening statement for the defense. This case is about Tatum Zilius, a contractor who was born homeless and was building affordable housing for the poor because she knew what it was like to have nothing. Meanwhile, the squatters, the very people she wanted to help, were sabotaging the site. Unfortunately, there was a storm coming, so Zilius was forced to lift on August 31st so that all of her hard work wouldn't be ruined. What with the storm and a squatter who wanted to bring down the crane did go down, killing the squatter and an OCIS officer. We will definitively show that Zilius is innocent of third-degree murder and that the accident was caused by circumstances beyond her control. Third-degree murder is killing with malice. In the Pennsylvania Legal Code, malice is defined as wickedness of disposition, hardness of heart, cruelty, recklessness of consequences, and a crime regardless of social duty. We will prove that Zilius did not act with wickedness or hardness of heart by building over the squatters, because what she was building was for the squatters. Zilius did not act with cruelty when she put up a fence. She did it because the squatters were sabotaging the site and were putting themselves in danger. She did not act with recklessness of consequences or a mind regardless of social duty when she rented the bigger crane, even though there were cheaper options, or when she ordered the lift because Micah, her trusted crane operator, said that the crane could handle it. The prosecution might say that Zilius was reckless. They might say that when she ordered the lift, she knew that it probably was going to end in disaster if it continued because all she cared about was speed. This is invalid because she knew that if she didn't get the roof on, then months of work would be lost and she would lose millions. The prosecution might also say that Zilius was greedy. They might say that she was going as fast as possible so that she would get a lot more money, and that as long as she hit the deadline, she didn't care if people got hurt. This is inaccurate because she spared no expense in making sure this building would be safe and good quality. She hired Micah and Everson and gave workers comp. Finally, the prosecution might say that Zilius was negligent. They might say that she ignored the squatters wandering around on the site and did nothing after they got through the fence. This is incorrect because Zilius spent time and money to put up the fence, and there were many other things on site which required her attention. She was doing the best that she could to keep this project afloat. Our first witness is Reese Denter, a reporter who talked to the main squatter who wanted him to stop and was willing to do anything to stop it. Our second witness is Tatum Zilius, a woman who built up her empire from scratch despite her humble beginnings and returned to a place that was special for her so she could help the people she lived with. Our final witness is Micah Stratton, a trusted crane operator who knows how to get everything that her crane can give. She has been working with this crane for nearly 18 years. We know that the court has the power to condemn Zilius, but we implore you to reflect over what we have said and to spare an innocent person who just wanted to help people.
All right, at this time, we'll have the party's case in chief. At this time, the prosecution may call its first witness.
Your Honor, the prosecution will call its first witness, Lemon Packer.
All right. If you would raise your right hand, please. Are you going to swear this? Okay. All right, if you can come have a seat for me, please, sir. And pull that microphone down and speak into it as you testify. And I appreciate you combing your hair this morning.
On here.
Could you please state your name and residence from 1975 to 2012?
My name is London Packard, and my residence and stated time was Franklin Trench.
Were there any big moments in your life in 1975?
Well, yes, I came across that that trench that I call my home.
Would you describe the summer of 2011?
Yes, Tatum Zillius decided to turn our beautiful home into a metal a big piece of metal with a construction site. Yes.
Were there any other squatters at Franklin's Trench?
Yes, I never quite advertised it, as you would say, but eventually more than 1,000 or so squatters sojourned with us at one time or another.
Where did the other previously stated squatters at Franklin's Trench go?
When they heard of this construction site, they all faded away in ones or twos.
Would you describe what the site looked like in January of 2012?
Yes, I did. After noting that Zillius came by, I watched Emerson Turkin, the site supervisor, under Zillius' orders, cut safety suites. Accidents increased drastically. I saw workers hurting their hands, smashing their bodies, turning their ankles. I also saw live wires laying in electrical puddles, almost electrocuting workers, as well as I even saw a worker climb a ladder and fall and then be carried off unmoving, while another one was ordered to take its place.
What were you doing on the day of August 24th, 2012?
As I was rooting through some debris, I found a letter from the city inspectors saying that the lift wasn't approved.
Interesting. Would you please describe the weather the morning you left?
There was rain and howling winds. I thought there was no way they could lift from that letter.
Your Honor, I would like to enter the following exhibit marked as Exhibit A, the weather report of Friday, August 31st, 3:15 p.m.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
All right. It's Exhibit A.
Yes, sir.
All right, Exhibit A will be admitted.
Go ahead, Bailey. Would you please read the highlighted portion?
It says, Philadelphia weather, high wind warning until 9 p.m. tonight, Friday, August 31st, day, rain, wind chance of rain 100% and wind of 25 to 27 miles per hour with gusts of up to 35 miles per hour.
Would you describe what you saw during the lifts of the day?
I watched those lifts with a sense of doom almost. I saw, during the first lift, the panel was literally twisting in the wind. Their expert crane operator, it almost plowed into the side of the New York Parkway Road. And around 3, a government official came down. They must have heard the screams of the crane because, she came down and threw up the red flag. Zillius immediately darted from the manager's office, snatched the green flag, and waved it furiously in the direction of the crane operator.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, cross-examination.
Your Honor, my name is Aaron Andrews, and I will begin the cross-examination.
You may begin your examination.
Mr. Packard, did Emerson Turnkin yell at you when you suggested to move the site to another hole in the city?
Yes, he did.
And did Architect try to harm Emerson Turnkin after he refused?
Yes, he did.
Did you pay for the land in front of this trench?
No, I did not.
So, Ms. Zillius paid for the land, which makes it legally hers, correct?
Correct.
So you were trespassing.
Correct.
And did Ms. Zillius put up a fence to keep you off the site and safe?
Correct.
And Artie Dent was sabotaging the work site?
I wouldn't say sabotaged.
He was tagging the machines and moving equipment around to halt the work.
Correct.
And did Artie Dent say he would kill himself on site to stop the construction?
More or less.
Your Honor, I would like to introduce Artie Dent's manifesto as to Exhibit B.
Any objection from the prosecution?
No, Your Honor.
All right, exhibit B will be in there.
Mr. Packard, would you please read the third bullet point, the highlighted portion?
Yes. This trench, this strong line that's deep in the sand is where I will take my final stand.
And the next part?
The power of the wrench.
And the last line, please.
Line?
The last line, the highlighted.
Line
At
or
the bottom.
point?
The last bullet point at the bottom.
Yes. The answer is simple. A trench coat martyr, blood that will forever stain this strange project. A spot that can never be washed out and marked will always be home to the trench.
And did Artie Dent steal a wrench off of the site?
You could say that.
And he was mentally unstable, correct?
Correct.
Did he take his medication?
Sometimes.
Why didn't he take it all the time?
He thought it was a plot against him, I think. So kind of work.
Did you try to stop Artie in his Operation Turtle?
No,
Why not?
that was his business.
And did you see Artie Dent on the site during the day of the accident?
Yes, I did.
And is it possible that Artie sabotaged the crane and caused its collapse?
Possible, sure.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Any redirect, any further questions?
No.
Thank you, sir. You may step down. Prosecution may call its next witness.
Your Honor, I'd like to call our prosecution's second witness, Emerson Turnbull, to the stand.
You come forward, be sworn, please.
I do.
Have a seat, sir. Just pull that microphone down. Just look at that.
Please state your name and occupation.
I'm Emerson Turnkin, and I'm the site supervisor at Athens Trench.
What are your qualifications?
I went to Penn State for construction management, and I have 30 years of site experience.
Mr. Turnbull, who hired you to work on Project G?
Tatum Zilius did in 2011.
And did you discuss anything with Ms. Zilius during the hiring process?
She had a fast means good, fast means profit policy that I was concerned about. She thought that as long as you went with speed, then you could pay for minor injuries or citations. And I promised myself that I would not pay interest and adhere to all safety rules.
Now, tell me about the events of January 10th, 2012.
Tatum came by the site and went on a tirade, started yelling at me, and at the worst part, she said, I don't care if people get hurt, we can pay for that. We can pay for anything but time. This project is going to get done.
What was Project Z like following this tirade?
My safety checks were cut multiple times, accidents increased, and I was running the site basically alone.
Your Honor, I would like to enter into the following exhibit, marked as Exhibit C, into evidence.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Exhibit C will be admitted.
Mr. Turnkin, will you please read the yellow highlighted lines starting on line 40 through 46?
In April, when the final weight total on the state-of-the-art roofing panels came in, it was 200 tons over the max load limit for the crane. Micah was convinced that Fight and Phil couldn't handle it. I already lost control of the situation, so I just told her to sort it out with Tatum. A week or so later, Micah came back to me and said that she had spoken to Tatum, and that Tatum was aware of the risk, but had told Micah to proceed as planned. I knew it was a mistake. These were no ordinary roofing panels. Not only were they heavier than expected, the shape of the design was unique, and they had these wind turbines built into them, so the weight wasn't evenly distributed. I knew Tatum was aggressive, but this was beyond negligent. It was reckless.
How did the work site change after this took place?
Tatum was there every day. I had lost control over the site, like she promised me. And there were way more accidents than there should have been.
Mr. Turnkin, could you please continue by reading the pink highlighted sections on lines 49 through 52?
One day in May, I saw London and another person mucking about around the mooring area of Brighton Hill. I managed to scare them off, but it did raise a serious concern. I was worried that they were plotting something, but I couldn't tell what it was. I didn't bother mentioning it to Micah, but did relay the information to Tatum, who seemed as disinterested as ever.
Now, what was Miss Silius's reaction to this information?
She just told me not to worry about them.
Now, could you please read the orange highlighted portion starting on line 55 through 61?
In June of 2012, things got really intense. Tatum decided that she needed to be on site 24 hours a day. First, a third shift was added, and then overtime became mandatory. The breakneck pace was taking a toll on the workers. There was a bonus deadline looming in October. The building was getting done, but the haphazard approach was dangerous, and Tatum knew it. Even though we had put up a fence, squatters were still milling around, and tools were being left everywhere. During our morning meeting one day in early August, I bit the bullet and confronted Tatum about the huge risk we were taking. Predictably, she said, "Remember, my dear M, we don't finish until we die. Nothing you say can change that. Go make yourself look good."
How did this encounter affect you?
My heart wasn't in the work anymore. I mostly just sat in my office watching the work and sorting through mail and junk.
Now, can you please read the green highlighted lines starting on line 63 through 67?
I still had one fear, the big lifts at the end of August. Shortly before they were scheduled, Hurricane Isaac hit the Gulf Coast. I was terrified for the fact that if the torrential rains came before the roofing panel was in place, months of effort would be lost. Tatum was determined to get the overweight roofing panels in place before this happened.
Was Miss Silius aware of severe weather predicted for August 31st?
Yes.
Tell me about the events leading up to the incident on August 31st, 2012.
Reese's article hit the front pages of the paper and painted me as a monster, so I ran to the site early and made sure that all the site was safe. There were some squatters poking about around the crane, and then I tried to mention this to Celia's, and I brought her a worse weather report. She just said, "So why aren't you lifting now?" And then during the first lift, Micah almost lost control and hit an apartment building, but managed to get it in place. Before the second lift, Grace voiced a concern and asked Micah if it was okay.
Now, Mr. Turnkin, can you please read the blue highlighted portion starting on lines 90 and going through 90?
A half hour later, the lift was stopped when another blasted squatter appeared. Tatum bolted from the booth to confront Grace, and I saw them fighting over the green flag. It looked to me like Tatum was winning, but with all that rain and the wind at that distance, I couldn't really see what was happening. However, I'm pretty sure that I saw Tatum grab the flag from Grace and start waving it in my good direction. For all her bravado, for all her cavalier attitude, this risk-taking and utter disregard for safety had finally caught up with Tatum. Tatum thought her legacy was more important than human life.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor. I am Benjamin Shopman, and I have some questions for this witness. Do you have a degree from Penn State in construction management? Did Micah say that the crane could make the lift?
Yes.
Could Zilius just have been listening to Micah?
That's possible.
Could you have dealt better with the squatters?
I could have.
Could you have taken any extra action yourself to calm down the squatters?
Silius was in total control.
Had the squatters already been vandalizing the site?
Not before.
So the squatters haven't been doing anything to mess up or slow down the project?
Not before I spoke with
So could the crane have been sabotaged?
him.
So did Zilius allow a safety inspection after the suspected sabotage of the crane?
She allowed the minimum the code requires.
But she did allow a safety inspection.
Yes.
Did you try to put up a fence to keep the squatters out?
Yes.
Was the fence keeping the squatters safe by keeping them out?
They were still getting in somehow.
But it was keeping some of them safe by keeping them out?
Objection. Assumption.
I'm gonna overrule. Man.
Did you try to stop the lift?
I knew Tatum would never listen to me.
But you could have done something to try to stop the lift.
I could have.
If you had tried to stop the lift, would it have prevented the accident?
I don't know.
So is it possible that you are partially responsible for the deaths of Grace Hopper and Artie Dent, and Zilius is not fully responsible?
Objection. Lack of personal knowledge.
Sustained.
So there's no way possible that Zilius is not fully responsible since you didn't try to stop the lift?
Raise the question.
There's no possibility that Zilius is not fully responsible because you didn't try to stop the lift.
Objection. Ambiguous question.
Rephrase one more time for me, please.
So since you didn't try to stop the lift, and you could have,
Mine, dug deep in the sand, is where I will take my final stand.
Could you please read what I said in the last bullet point with one check?
He states, the answer is simple. A trench coat marred in blood will forever stay in the screaming hollow. A spot that can never be washed out, a mark on what will always be home to the trenchers of our home.
Your Honor, I would like to enter the final OCIS report as Exhibit E.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Exhibit E will be admitted.
Could you please identify this piece of evidence?
The final OCIS report.
Could you please read the 13th violation in the final OCIS report?
A gap in the fence on south end of Fort Carrier.
Who cut the hole in ours?
Already dead.
What was Artie doing when you saw him for the last time?
He was standing by the fence, and he was staring at Fighting Phil, and his hands were in the air. It looked like he was praying.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Cross.
Ms. Stintner, is it a true statement that you approached the prosecution to testify today with the understanding that if you took the stand, you would avoid personal prosecution?
Yes.
Tell us about your educational background.
I have a bachelor's degree in communications and English and a master's in journalism.
Ms. Stintner, were you accused of hiring a private investigator to steal personal data from the royal family?
I was.
What misunderstanding did you have with New York rules?
There was a misunderstanding over sifting through the city's trash.
Weren't you also trespassing?
Yes.
Is that why you left and came to Philadelphia?
Yes, because I was accused of that.
Did you bribe someone at the OCIS to give you information about Zilius?
I might have tipped them, yes.
Did you trespass on one of Zilius's work sites after this?
Yes.
Your Honor, the prosecution will also like to refer to previously entered evidence, Exhibit D, for identification.
You have Exhibit D.
What is
It's
it?
a different one.
Oh, it's the prosecution's Exhibit D. Okay, I got you. If you present to the bench. Any objection to prosecution's Exhibit D?
No, Your Honor.
All right, he's admitted.
Would you please identify?
My article, The Trench Warfare.
Will you please read the yellow highlighted portions on line 41 through 45, please?
Zilius's history for cutting corners is well known throughout the construction industry. Line 45.
Line 41.
Okay. She blew off all safety protocols and procedures. The site itself became an utter mess. Even the shiny window panes could not deflect the light from shining down and seeing what was really going on beneath the surface.
Why did you help the squatters being when they were squatters?
I helped the squatters because I saw them as a golden opportunity to share things that they had had to go through.
Didn't you also call them perfect sources and journalistic gold?
I did. For their own sake.
Did you hear Zilius screaming out to Emerson that she could pay for anything but time and how time was the only thing that mattered?
I did.
Ms. Ender, will you please read the purple highlighted portions on line 46 through 49?
A former worker on the site was let go when she was refused to work the extra hour that was offered to her. I learned that the driving force behind Zilius' attitude is a bonus that was offered by the city and HUD for getting the project done before October 31st, 2012. A friend at City Hall got me a copy of the contract, and there it is.
Ms. Dittner, will you please read the pink highlighted portion on lines 49 through 55?
The worker also told me that this construction site is the most dangerous one she had ever worked on.
The next page, please.
Small wonder then that the Franklin Trench has had more reported injuries than any other construction site over the past 50 years. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, at all construction sites in the United States in 2011, there was 5.6 injuries per 100 full-time construction workers. At Franklin's Trench, that ratio is an astonishing 15.7 injuries per 100, nearly 3 times the national average.
So, did you witness any injuries at your time at Franklin's Trench?
Did.
When were you going to time your masterpiece, Trench Warfare, to release?
Can you repeat the question?
When were you going to time your masterpiece, Trench Warfare, to be released?
On the day of the work.
Your Honor, I would like to enter the following exhibit marked as Exhibit E into evidence.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
All right, exhibit E will be admitted.
Ms. Dittner, you have what has been marked marked as Exhibit E for identification. Would you please identify?
My witness statement, at least. Or my own witness statement.
Will you please read the highlighted portions on line 31 through 35, please?
The first roof was lowered with much difficulty. Around 3 o'clock, during the second big lift, I could hear the metal on the crane straining. I tried to get some on-the-ground information with my long-range mic, but I only picked up a fragment of a conversation. I was shocked that they allowed the lift to go.
Ms. Dittner, did you say that Tatum Zilius is a lawful person, a cheapskate, and a snake?
I did.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Can you redirect?
No, Your Honor.
You may sit down. All right, the defendant may call its next witness.
Your Honor, my name is Everyone Knight, and I will be questioning the next witness. I would like to call Tatum Zilius to the stand.
Be sworn, please, ma'am.
I did.
Please have a seat.
Would you please state your name for the court? My name is Tatum Zilius. How was your early life? I was born to a homeless mother and I never met my father. When did you start Project Z? I started Project Z on January 1st, 2010. What was your goal in making Project Z? My goal was to make the world a better place. Why did you hire Emerson Turpin? Because I believe she could get things done and done right. Why was everything covered in graffiti when we visited the site back in January 2012? Emerson said that the squatters had been sabotaging the work. What were the simple instructions you gave Emerson? I told Emerson to follow the code and protect the workers. What did you do to help keep the site safe? I followed the code and I did perfect best to keep the squatters out. Your Honor, I'd like to enter the memorandum of understanding as Exhibit G.
Any objection?
There you go.
Exhibit G will be admitted. You may enter the vote.
Do you recognize this document? I do. Please read the highlighted section. Project Z shall be named the developer of the Franklin's Trench project, and it shall be responsible for the construction thereon of the multi-family apartment building, the Franklin's Trench development, for use as part of the AQD and the city's efforts to improve the quantity and quality of public housing to southeastern Pennsylvania. According to the memorandum of understanding, what was your goal in building the family apartments on the Franklin's Trench development? My goal was to pair with the city in quantity and quality to improve public housing. What did you plan on adding to make Project Z self-sustainable? I added double-pane windows, recycled insulation, and I made it solar powered. Why did you buy the solar panels from a Japanese firm? Normal solar panels don't work that well in the city, and the Japanese firm had new and better technology. What did you do when you ran out of Project Z's public funds? I funded it out of my own pocket. What did Emerson Turpin say about you being able to pay for people? I never said such thing. She was twisting my words. What did you really say? I said that we could pay for minor injuries like someone tripping or a tool falling on someone's hard hat. You can't make a site completely safe. What did Micah say when you found out the panels exceeded the weight limit required to build? He said that the weight limit was always set below the maximum capacity and that it was completely safe to lift. Why did you think it was safe to lift? Micah assured us that it was completely safe to lift and that he could do it. Who held up the green flag on the day of the accident? Grace. Who do you blame for the accident? I blame that spotter. He ruined everything. He destroyed that crane, that roof, how to see my vision, and the hopes and dreams of hundreds of families. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, cross-examination for the prosecution.
Ms. Zilius, did you say the trench was being used for absolutely nothing?
Yes.
But there were people living there, correct?
It was not their land.
Didn't you say you set your eyes on the October deadline with a vengeance?
My goal was to make it done as quick as possible so they could live there.
So yes.
So, yes,
So there was extra motive to hurry up and get the job done, correct?
correct.
Emerson Turpin said you stated that you could pay for people, correct?
I said that we could pay for people's injuries.
So, here, Your Honor, I would like to enter Tatum Zilius' witness statement into evidence.
What's the exhibit?
Exhibit F.
Any objection to exhibit F? From the defense.
No, Your Honor.
All right. Exhibit F, be admitted. Johansson, Bailey, what's the matter?
Ms. Elias, will you read lines 45 through 46 in the highlighted portions?
I know Serkin says said that we can pay the people or something like that. You can't make a construction site 100% safe. And trying to do that was a pointless waste of a huge amount of time and money.
So you stated those words.
Yes, I did.
Did you violate any safety codes?
I paid for any safety codes. I did not move.
So you did violate safety codes.
Yes,
Did you get any citations from the OCIS?
I did.
Do you admit that you started the second shift and not Emerson Journal?
I did. It's my job to make sure the site works completely safe.
By June, were you at the site every day?
I was. It's my site.
In August, did you become aware that a hurricane was brewing?
I did.
And weeks could destroy the temporary roofing, ruining weeks of work, correct?
Correct.
If weeks of work were destroyed, a lot of your money would have been wasted since you were personally invested in the project.
Yes.
So the reason you wanted to make the deadline was to prevent personal ruin.
I wanted to make the deadline so that I could keep people into houses that they needed.
Will you please read line 70 in the highlighted portions?
With all that I put in, if we miss the deadline, I'd be ruined.
So you stated that you would personally be ruined if you missed the deadline.
I said I would be ruined. We never said that I would be ruined because people wouldn't have houses.
Did you live without the city's permission?
I did.
And you said I wasn't going to let a bureaucratic delay stop progress, correct?
I did.
Were you aware that the panels were over the contractual weight limit for the crane?
I did, but it was necessary work.
So you had to pay Micah an incentive payment to keep the crane going, correct?
Yes, I did it for people's own good.
Were you aware that there was a risk of the crane breaking with this load?
I was, but Micah assured us that it was safe.
On August 30th, were Micah Stratton and Grace from OCIS worried about the weather?
They were, but again, Micah assured us that it was safe to lift.
And after all this, you still decided to proceed with the lifts? Aware of
Yes,
all
it
this?
was necessary to lift because of the weather.
On August 31st, 2012, when Micah lifted the first panel, the beginning lift was a little scary, correct?
It was.
At 2 p.m., did Grace want to talk to Micah about a revised weather report?
She did.
And in your own words, did you say it didn't seem like a big deal to me?
I never saw the weather report, so
But you still said it didn't seem like a big deal to you.
it didn't.
Okay.
There were slight changes, that's all.
I would like to present Exhibit A. I would like to refer back to that.
All right, you have a copy?
I do not.
Okay.
You present this to Liz. Will you please read the blue highlighted portions?
Weather update, Friday, August 31st, 12 a.m. Expect wet and windy weather all day. Intervals of rain, heavy at times. Winds will be strong and gusting remnants of Hurricane Isaac. I never saw this, so how would I know
Yes,
these
you
things?
saw this because Grace warned you about it, but you said it didn't seem like a big deal to you, correct?
She told me about it, but I never saw the weather report.
Correct, because you said it didn't seem like a big deal to you.
Yes, but why do I have this? If I've never seen it, I didn't know these things.
Yes,
She just told me there was a revised weather report, that's all.
Yes, but you said it didn't seem like a big deal to you. If you checked it, you could have seen the weather conditions.
But also, okay. Well, why am I reading this then? Because I've never
To
seen
see
it.
the weather conditions that you ignored.
But it doesn't matter
All right,
because I haven't heard
let's we'll ask a question, we'll answer.
When Grace continued to show concern for the weather, did you speak firmly to her?
I did.
and you went on with the second lift.
I did, it was necessary.
During the second lift, were the winds getting even stronger than they were before?
They were, but like I said, it was necessary to lift.
Michael was fighting to keep the roof in position, correct?
He was.
Around 3 p.m., did Grace wave the red flag?
Yes.
So you ordered the site to do a quick sweep, which the code permits if there isn't any evidence of tampering, correct?
Correct.
But was it a missing tool found?
Correct.
After this, did you or did you not shove the green flag at Grace?
I did not.
You did not. Please read line 93.
I shoved the green flag at Grace, and she held it up.
So I did not hold up to the green flag.
But you shoved the green flag at Grace. That was my question.
Yes.
All right. Did Grace die?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, I would like to present Exhibit E as evidence. We're back to.
Has this already been admitted?
Yes, there it is.
All right. We'll give that to the witness, please. Ms. Bailey?
Will you please read the highlighted portion?
2 deaths, 1 government.
Yes, so Grace did die.
That is what I said. Correct.
Yes, correct. Do you regret taking charge of the job site?
I do not.
Please read your witness statement, lines 97 through 98.
You said 97 through 99?
98.
98. Do I regret what happened? Of course. But do I regret taking charge that day and in the months before? No way. I did what I had to do for the good of the project and to provide the next generation of Athens resiliences with good, sustainable homes.
So you do regret, or you do not regret taking charge of the job site?
I regret what happened.
But do you regret taking charge of the job site?
No, it needed to be done.
Okay. Do you regret the squatter's death?
I do not.
Do you accept responsibility for your failure?
I do.
All right, no further questions, Your Honor.
Can you redirect from the defense?
No, Your Honor.
All right, you may sit down. All right, any other witnesses for the defense?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, the defense would like to call Michael Stratton to the stand.
Stratton, if you come and be sworn in, please.
Your Honor, the defense would like to have Michael Stratton state the expert witness.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
All right, she'll be so qualified.
Please state your name and occupation.
My name is Micah Stratton, and I was the crane operator for Project Z.
Where did you go to college?
I went to Drexel University and got a degree in mechanical engineering.
How long have you been working with Fighting Phil?
I've been working with Bill for almost 18 years.
So you knew the crane better than anybody.
Yes.
Why did Tatum's choose to use Fighting Phil?
Because it had a higher lift capacity.
Why did you think that Fighting Phil could have handled the lift?
Because he's handled overweight lifts before.
What is the largest overweight lift Fighting Phil had handled before?
Almost 30,000 pounds.
Your Honor, I would like to introduce the crane rental term sheet as Exhibit H.
All right, any objection?
No, Your Honor.
H should be admitted.
Mrs. Stratton, would you please read line 4 of the crane rental term sheet?
In addition, because Fighting Phil is committed to another project, Project Z shall pay an additional $250,000 to compensate ELS for the termination fee it will incur and the loss of business good will enact cancellation.
So Zillius paid that extra money to get a better crane?
Yes.
What preservative maintenance did you perform leading up to the big lift?
In April, we idled Phil down and did a careful inspection and replaced some modern weekend parts.
Was Grace in agreement that the lift could be done?
We talked to her and she did not stop us.
Were squatters present on the job site?
Yes, at times we saw them walking under load, which would cause us to pause our work.
When you arrived the morning of the lift, what did you do?
Around 7 a.m., I walked to the job site, looking Phil over and going over my free checklist. Around 7:45, the foreman threw up a red flag because there was a wrench inside Phil's gear.
Why was the red flag raised in the middle of the second one?
Because there was a fire accident.
Who gave you the green flag the day of the accident?
I'm pretty sure Grace gave it, but I couldn't really see from the crane.
In your expert opinion, do you think the crane could have handled the lift if the crane had not been sabotaged?
Yes, I'm pretty sure I had it under control, and I have the green flag too.
What do you believe caused the crane to collapse?
I think if water chopped my hydraulic lines, then the crane would have collapsed.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Cross.
Mrs. Stratton, in September 2011, when you confronted Emerson Turnkin and Tatum Zillius of your concerns about squatters being on site, what was Ms. Zillius' response?
She said we didn't need to worry about the squatters.
Your Honor, I would like to enter Exhibit J into evidence. Ms. Stratton's witness statement.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
J submitted.
Ms. Stratton, will you please read the yellow highlighted portions on lines 29 through 30?
The completed panels weighed over 2,900 tons each. This was especially significant problem because Phil has a normal maximum engineering load of 2,750 tons.
So what was Bill's maximum engineering load?
2,750 tons.
And were the panels over that limit?
Yes.
Now, can you please read the purple highlighted lines starting on line 31 through line 33?
You need to request special permission for a load over engineering tolerance. I asked Turpin to write the city right away, but we never heard back from them.
Ms. Stratton, are you telling me that your team, consisting of yourself, Emerson Turnkin, and Tatum Zillius, knowingly attempted to perform the lifts without the permission required from the city?
Yeah, but we never heard back.
Now, Mrs. Stratton, will you please read the pink highlighted sections on lines 27 through 28, and then lines 39 through 40?
In January 2012, things changed when Zillius visited the site. Downtime when we did the safety sweeps was cut back and accidents increased. Sorry. Is there more?
39 through 40?
Oh, sorry, I read it wrong. But by June, the intensity doubled again. Zillius was going to do whatever had to be done to meet the October deadline. She added an overnight shift and even took up residence right above the site.
Would you say that Zillius had a sense of urgency to complete Project C?
Yes, but she wanted to get it done before the
In
hurricane.
your witness statement, you testified that by August 30, 2012, the lift had been thought over multiple times. Was your group, Emerson Turnkin and Tatum Zillius and yourself, aware of the risk the lift faced?
Yes, but Phil had handled many
The
of
day of the big lift, August 31st, did you perform a complete safety inspection?
Yes.
Now, will you please read your statement, the green light highlighted portion on lines 44 through 45?
On August 31st, 2012, I started my shift a little before 7 a.m., walking to the site, looking Phil over and going through my free checklist. We didn't have time for a complete safety inspection.
Now, Ms. Stratton, I will repeat my question. Did you perform a complete safety inspection?
No, we didn't have time.
Was a red flag thrown preventing the first lift to proceed?
Yes.
Now, Ms. Stratton, will you please read the blue highlighted section starting on lines 48 through 50 and then line 52?
It was almost 10 a.m. when the roof lifted off. I almost lost control when the first big gust hit. The panel was supposed to be lowered into place around noon, but we had started late and the ships on the ground changed. We didn't touch down until almost 1:30.
Were you concerned about the weather conditions leading to the second lift?
I was a little, but silly.
When you called Emerson Turnkin to ask whether to proceed with the second lift, who answered?
Can you repeat the question?
When you called Emerson Turnkin to ask whether to proceed with the second lift, who answered the call?
Oh, Zillius got on the phone and told me we were go.
So he said, so Zillius was the one that said the lift was go.
Yes.
Now, will you please read the orange highlighted lines 45, or 54 through 57 in your witness statement?
Then around 2:15, I got a call from Grace asking if the lift was safe, given the low in the wind and the revised weather report that everyone got during the shift change at noon. I told her that the load and the wind were both within Phil's 100% tolerance, which was mostly true.
Mrs. Stratton, you just testified your response to Grace concerning the lift safety as being mostly true, correct?
Yes.
Now, as students of grammar, we know that mostly is an ly adverb, modifying the meaning of true. So are you saying that you know a portion of your response to Grace is not true?
Well, yes.
So you lied to Grace Hopper, a government official,
I didn't lie to her because I said mostly.
but you knew that a portion of what you were saying was not true, correct?
Yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, any redirect on the,
No, Your Honor.
you may step down now, thank you. Any other witnesses for the defense?
No, Your Honor.
Any rebuttal from the prosecution?
No, Your Honor.
Are the parties ready for closing arguments for the prosecution?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and for the defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
This time, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we'll have closing arguments from the parties. This time, closing arguments for the prosecution.
Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I am Jack Jordan. I'll be making closing remarks for the prosecution. Phantom Zillis was aware of the intensely dangerous conditions. The balance of danger on August 31st, 2012, for starters, was the weather, which consisted of roaring winds upwards of nearly 30 miles an hour and heavy rain, along with the fact that the panels were 150 tons over the crown of engineering line, as well as concave, which could catch snow even in the air. When the day came, Zillius even forced the flag into one of the victims in government officials' hands and insisted they would proceed. There were also the so-called squatters who were the residents of the trench, which they chose to ignore and force out of their chosen homes. This shows Zillius' recklessness and negligence for human life when put up against her own personal vendetta. By doing this, the defendant demonstrated hardness of heart, recklessness, and negligence, which are all directly linked to malice. The act of malice causing death is murder in the third degree. The lift was legal. Zillius' attempts to justify breaking the law by never hearing back from the city, but when permission is required, it means it is non-optional. This means Zillius concisely and consciously chose to violate the law for her own recklessness and greed. You see, Zillius had a deadline, and not making that deadline meant less profit in her pocket, and she did not have that. The law is in place to keep civilization afloat to allow for human flourish, and denying that is contradicting the instincts. Zillius was selfish and greedy. The truth is that all people have motivation to do what they do, and Zillius is no different. There is nothing evil about that. But what is evil is how willing you are to push people down and get it. The truth is, Zillius had a deadline, and if it wasn't met, that would burn a hole through her wallet, and she will not have that. To combat this, she does whatever she deems necessary, not with just or right, or with a fast way. All of this neglect has caused more hazards, more injuries, and overall unsafe condition, all motivated by.
May it please the court, Your Honor, and ladies and gentlemen of the jury. My name is Mary Evelyn Buckley, and I shall be making the closing remarks in this case. Tatum Zillius is not responsible for these horrible, accidental, tragic deaths of Grace Hopper and Irvington. As stated in Commonwealth v. DeStefano, the Pennsylvania Criminal Code defines third-degree murder as killing with malice. Zillius has no wickedness disposition, hardness of heart, cruelty, recklessness of consequences, or a mind regardless of certainty. Tatum Zillius is not a malicious person. Zillius is innocent because she cared about safety. Zillius bought the savings claim and even spent her own money to ensure safety. She also paid for the workers' compensation if they needed it, and she was planning on making the public housing building affordable for poor people. Zillius also could have possibly done it if it was sabotage. We have shown you that Artie had a wrench, and that somebody has placed the wrench into the crane's gears, which could have contributed to the crash. The squatters, especially Artie, had been vandalizing the site the whole time they'd been working, and tools had been going missing. The prosecution has said that Zillius should be convicted. They say as the first thing that Zillius was reckless. But that argument isn't valid because she bought the safer crane. She has years of experience and she knows what she's doing. Zilius was also negligent. But that idea is also illogical because Zilius put her own money into the project. So she was fully involved and committed. Tatum Zilius is not guilty of the third-degree murder of Grace Hopper and Artie Dent because Zilius cared about safety, she had compassion for the people, and it could have been sabotage. The court owes it to Tatum Zilius to ensure she is not incarcerated for a heinous crime she did not commit.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you've heard all the evidence, heard the closing arguments. Parties, let's give the folks a round of applause.
Judge Matthew Huggins presiding. May God save the state and this honorable court.
Thank you. Be seated, please. All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're here this morning for the trial by jury of Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus Tatum Zilius, style MC 51 CR 71499 2012. Charges are 2 counts of murder in the 3rd degree. Parties are present in open court with counsel. Would the defendant please rise? Mr. Zilius, how do you plead to 2 counts of murder in the 3rd degree? Not guilty? Okay. Please be not guilty. Thank you, sir. This time, ladies and gentlemen, we'll have opening statements from the parties, first from the prosecution.
May it please the court, Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. I am Benjamin Trotman, and I will be presenting the opening statement for the prosecution. Today, we will show you that Tatum Zilius, owner of Project Z, was greedy, reckless, negligent, and undoubtedly guilty of the charge of third-degree murder. Third-degree murder is defined as wickedness of disposition, hardness of heart, cruelty, recklessness of consequences, and or a mind regardless of social duty. We will show Zilius guilty of greed. He was poised to receive additional profit if he could finish the project sooner. He pushed his workers, employees, and equipment far past the limit and sacrificed 2 human lives for money. We will show Zilius guilty of recklessness. In criminal law, recklessness may be defined as the state of mind where a person deliberately pursues a course of action while consciously disregarding any act, risks flowing from such action. Zilius was reckless when he continued to work on the site without permission from the city. He was dangerously reckless when he added overtime and shortened safety time. And he was extremely reckless when he forced the crane to continue the lift in the midst of a hurricane. Zilius's reckless instructions caused the collapse of the crane in the second half of the lift, killing 2 people. Finally, we will show Zilius guilty of negligence. According to legal definition, negligence can be defined as the failure to behave with the level of care that a reasonable person would exercise under the same circumstances. Zilius did not take action towards ensuring the safety of the site in many cases, especially when the squatters were vandalizing the site. He did nothing to communicate to the squatters. He put up a flimsy fence to keep them out, but when they reached it within a couple days, he made no effort to further prevent them from trespassing. He made a measly attempt at trying to get permission from the city, but when they didn't hear back, he continued like nothing had happened. He made no move to ensure the crane was even able to complete the lift. He showed no regard for human life except his own. Our first witness will be London Packard, a homeless squatter who had found refuge in Franklin's Trench. Our second witness will be Emerson Turkin, the site supervisor who is known for her spotless record, which is no more thanks to Zilius. The defense may try to claim that the site was safe, or that Zilius was nice towards squatters, or even just blame it on other unrelated things. But those claims are illogical because Zilius had no compassion and did not care about the safety of others. We implore you to make the right decision and convict the greedy, reckless, negligent defendant of the murder of Artie Dent and Grace Hoffman. Thank you.
All right, at this time, ladies and gentlemen, the jury will have an opening statement for the defense as soon as this train passes.
May it please the court, Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, my name is Connor McCann, and I shall be making the opening remarks for the defense. Allow me to introduce my co-counsel, Ainsley Kinzer, Claire Kazai, and Jeremiah Butler. I would also like to introduce the defendant, Hayden Zilius. This case is about a misunderstood man who had his dreams shattered by a series of unfortunate events. The defendant created Project T to erect a sustainable public housing environment. He hired people he thought he could trust and did his best, but misfortunes kept raining down. Then on August 31st came the final crushing blow. Lifting the second roof panel for the building, Fight and Phil, the largest crane on the East Coast, collapsed, killing 2 people. We will prove 3 things. 1, that the squatters, people living in the trench, tampered with the site. 2, that the weather changed unpredictably. 3, that a bunch of accidents caused by people he put his trust in made the crane collapse. Our first witness will be Reese Dentner, the reporter. She will testify that Zilius had permission to lift the OCIS official and that the squatters tampered with the site. Our second witness will be Micah Estratton, the crane operator. Micah will testify how she has decades of experience with cranes, but that this job was made harder because Emerson Turnbull, the site supervisor, was making them live in unsafe conditions while the squatters were present. Our third and final witness will be Tatum Zilius, the defendant. Zilius was born homeless, but worked his way up to where he is now. Zilius will testify how Emerson Turnbull, the site supervisor, was not getting things done. He will also testify that Micah was confident in his abilities to live. We are confident that by the end of today, this court will agree with the defense and that Tatum Zilius is not a murderer, but just a misunderstood, misused man.
All right, at this time, we'll allow the parties to present their case in chiefs. First, for the prosecution, you may call your first witness.
Your Honor, my name is Gabriella Williams, and I'll be questioning your first witness. I'd like to call London Packer to the stand.
Ms. Packer, if you'd be sworn, please.
Do you affirm that the evidence shall give to the court and jury in this trial shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Miss? My bad. Would you please state your name for the court?
My name is London Packer.
And what is your relationship with Turkwood Church?
I found the trench in 1975 and have been living there ever since.
What did Zillian decide to do in 2011?
She decided to turn our haven for the downtrodden outcast into a shard of bitter steel.
And who is Reese Dentner?
She's a reporter.
Who did Reese get you a conversation with?
Zilius, but he didn't care enough to show up.
What happened when Zillius visited the site in January?
I saw him order Emerson to cut safety sweeps, and he was not going to let anything slow down the project.
What did you see happening to the workers when Zillius took over the site?
I saw them turn their ankles, hurt their hands, and smash their bodies.
What happened during the second shift?
By then, Emerson had left, and Zilius ruled the night. I saw a person's foot get run over by a forklift, someone nearly electrocuted by live wires laying in puddles, and many other injuries.
What happened later in March?
I saw a person fall when the ladder slipped out from under them. She was carried off in a stretcher, unmoving, as Zilius was ordering the next person in line to climb the very same ladder.
Thank you. What happened on August 24th?
I found a letter crumpled in the trash. It was from the city inspectors.
Your Honor, I would like to enter the licensing and inspection letter as Exhibit A.
Any objection from the defense?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Exhibit A will be admitted.
and inspections is in receipt of your application for permission to conduct a construction lift above engineering limits. Although the application was well documented, additional information is required before we can reach a final agency determination of your request. Specifically, we request the following.
So what did the letter exactly say about approval?
It hadn't been approved. They still have more steps they needed to do to gain approval.
Thank you. What happened during the first lift?
When they were doing the first lift, the panel was literally twisting in the wind and swinging back and forth.
What happened when the safety inspector raised the red flag?
Zilius ran towards the safety officer and started yelling at her. Then he grabbed the green flag from her hand and waved it at the lift operator.
What happened when Zilius raised the green flag?
There was a big gust of wind and the massive crane crumbled under its own weight, killing one of my fellow squatters.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, cross-examination.
Ms. London, where did you live from 1975 to 2012?
I lived in Franklin's Trench.
Did Artie Dent have mental issues?
Yes.
Did he attempt to attack the site's supervisor, Emerson Turner?
Yes, but I stopped him.
When considering a sit-in, did Artie Dent talk of killing himself on the site?
Yes, but he made ridiculous claims before, so we all take him out.
So he was willing to commit suicide to get your home back.
Yes,
When you found the letter from the city, where did you find it?
in the trash,
So you were looking through other trash.
I suppose.
Did you see Artie with a large wrench in his hand?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd like to enter Exhibit B, Artie's manifesto.
All right, any objection from the prosecution?
No, Your Honor.
Without objection, minutes exhibit B will be admitted.
Would you please read the pink highlighted portion?
Master plan. This trench, this strong line dug deep in the sand is where we crossed out, I underlined, will take my final stand. The power of the wrench. Allow me to rage against the alien machine. The answer is simple, a trench coat martyr. Blood that will forever stain this strange project. A spot that can never be washed out. A mark on what will always be home to the trenchers of Franklin.
Before the crane fell, in the second did you testify that it was the strongest wind of the day that pushed the crane over?
Yes.
And when the crane was falling, did Artie have his hands up in what could have been victory?
Yes, but it could have also been here.
Yes, but it could have been victory. Right?
Yes.
You found this manifesto in his belongings, correct?
Yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, you may sit down. Thank you. Prosecution may call us next witness.
Your Honor, my name is Abigail Walsh, and I will be questioning the next witness. I would like to call Emerson Turkin to the stand.
Going to be sworn, Mr.
Do you affirm that the evidence shall give to the court and jury in this trial shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do.
Please state your name and application.
My name is Emerson Turkin, and I was the site supervisor for Project Z.
Who was living in Franklin's Trench in 2012?
Just some random squatters.
Who did you meet with when the squatters were relocated?
I met with Blanton Packard.
What did Tate and Zillion say when the squatters were vandalizing the dog site?
They just said that we shouldn't concern ourselves with a bit of graffiti.
What was Tate and Zillion's reputation?
His reputation was fast means good and fast means profit.
Were safety checks made during the project?
Yes, but they were cut until they were just quick safety.
What happened to the safety of the job site once checks were cut?
Accidents increased, and Zilius did nothing.
What was wrong with the roofing tent?
They're way too heavy, and there are wind turbines on them, so the weight wasn't evenly distributed.
Your Honor, I'd like to introduce the weather updates from August 31st on Exhibit C.
All right, what exhibit was that again?
C.
C. Any objection to prosecution's exhibit C?
No, Your Honor.
All right, C has been done.
Do you recognize
I do.
this? Please read the highlighted section.
Expect wind and windy weather all day.
What did Tatum Williams say about the weather?
He just said, why are we lifting now?
He wanted to proceed with the lift.
Tatum, Zilius, and Micah is driving.
What happened when the winds became intense?
On the first lift, the loose panels swung wildly, and on the second lift, the crane collapsed.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, Cross.
What did London Packard want to move that?
He wanted me to move the site.
Your Honor, I'd like to enter into evidence Emerson's witness statement on this exhibit E.
Any objection to prosecution's exhibit D?
Your Honor, it should be Exhibit D.
Sorry?
It should be Exhibit D, Your Honor.
Exhibit D?
Yes.
Okay. Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
All right, D will be admitted.
Please read the highlighted section on lines 26 and 27.
I couldn't control my temper. Instead of diffusing the situation, I blew up at London.
What did the squatters do after that?
They just started a bit of a feud.
Can you please read the highlighted section on line 39?
Accidents increased tenfold.
Was this when you were running a 16-hour site?
It is.
What happened in January, what happened with the panels in April?
The panels came in.
Were they heavier than expected?
Yes, they were.
What did you do?
I tried to convince Zilius that we shouldn't lift, but he ignored me.
What did you do after your meeting with Zilius in August?
The meeting in August? The one right before the lift?
The one where, the one before the lift, but separately.
I confronted Zilius again and tried to make take reason.
On August 31st, when you, Tatum, and the OCIS official had a meeting, why didn't you stop the lift?
Because I knew that Zilius would have just ignored me. It would have been useless.
But would you have lost your job?
Objection, Your Honor. Emerson Turkin is not on trial.
Overruled the objection.
Would you have lost your job?
I would have.
So you chose to value your reputation instead of stopping an illegal lift?
If I tried to stop the lift, it would have been a fruitless attempt. Zilius would not have acted on my words, and so it just would have done nothing.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Anything further from the prosecution?
No, Your Honor.
All right, you may step down now. Any other witnesses from the prosecution?
No, Your Honor.
Prosecution rests.
Prosecution is.
All right. Defense, may call it first witness.
Your Honor, I would like to call Reese Dinner to this end.
Be sworn, please, ma'am.
Do you affirm that the evidence shall give the court and jury in this trial shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do.
Can you please state your name and occupation?
My name is Reese Dettner, and I'm a freelance news reporter.
What are some of your qualifications?
Well, I have 2 degrees from Syracuse University. First is a bachelor's in English and Communication, and the second a master's in journalism. I've worked all around the world, London, New York, Philly, for example, for multiple well-known news sources.
And what made you take interest in Franklin County?
Well, Zilius is well known throughout the development industry, and he had an interesting history, so I decided to take a look at his newest project, which was Franklin's Trench.
And what did you find there at Franklin County?
There were these people called squatters living in the trench. Many were artists, veterans, street performers. And then there was London Packard, their self-proclaimed leader, and Artie Dent, who caught my attention right off the bat.
Could you tell me more about Artie Dent?
Yeah, he was obsessed with resisting the loss of his home. He would vandalize the site in order to slow down Zilius' progress with the construction, but I found out that all his work to eventually stop the lifts at the end of August would be put to waste because the mayor's spokesman told me that the lifts would soon be approved.
And what was the condition of this construction site in January?
Well, after Zilius confronted Emerson Turnkin about the speed being behind schedule, he had a fence put up to keep out the squatters, and I witnessed a few injuries, but Zilius always paid the workers' compensation, even if the injuries were faked.
So did you write, being a reporter, did you write something about this construction site?
Yes, I did. After things seemed to start looking up, I started taking notes on site, and eventually I combined all my notes and created this article called Trench Warfare.
And how was your story received?
It was an overnight success. I was invited onto some talk shows to discuss it, and it's my masterpiece.
What was this site like the day before?
Well, I didn't get to the site till a little afternoon because of talk shows on Trench Warfare.
Objection, Your Honor. They're calling for a narrative question.
Overruled.
I got there a little afternoon because of the talk shows, and when I did get there, I saw Artie wearing a trench coat of sorts, and he had his hands up towards the sky, looking at Frank Phil as if he was praying. It's really weird, but when I got down there, he was gone. I wasn't surprised though because he had a million ways in and out of the site.
Objection, Your Honor. Lack of personal knowledge.
What did you just say? What did you just say in your answer? Jesus did say that. Let me be clear. What did you just say in your answer?
About Artie Dent.
Yes.
He was obsessed with resisting loss of his home. When
All right, I'm going to sustain.
So could you tell me about the first lift?
Yes, it had much difficulty progressing.
And the second?
I heard, during this lift, I heard the crane's metal screeching.
Did you overhear any conversation between Grace Hopper and Frank?
Objection, Your Honor. Leading question.
I'm going to overrule.
Yes, I did. I heard fragments of conversations between Grace and Zilius, and Grace said something like, I can't, I guess you can do, you want, you receive.
Did anything happen to you after the accident?
Yes, I found myself a letter by way of London Packard, the squatter, and it was an envelope that was sealed, and it was addressed to me from Artie Dent. Inside it contained this manifesto of sorts, which Artie had mentioned to me back in July.
Your Honor, I would like to enter the following exhibit marked as Exhibit B. Previously entered, Artie's manifesto.
All right, do you have a copy of that one? All right. Ms. Beth, if you can get a copy of that for the witness. It's been previously admitted, is that correct?
Yes. Ms. Dentner, would you please read the pink highlighted portion?
This trench, this strong line dug deep in the sand, is where I will take my final stand. The power of the wrench. Allow me to rage against the alien machine. The answer is simple. A trench coat martyr, blood that will forever stain this strange project. A spot that will never be washed out. A mark on what will always be home to the trenches of Franklin.
Your Honor, I would like to enter another exhibit, Exhibit E, into evidence, the statement of Reese Dentner.
All right, any objection to Exhibit E?
No, Your Honor.
E will be admitted.
So, previously reading from the manifesto, it had the words trench coat martyr, correct? Would you please read the pink highlighted portion?
I saw Artie in his trench coat at the edge of the fence, staring at Fighting Phil. He had his hands up and he looked like he was crying.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. You may step down. Have we had cross examination? Okay, cross.
Your Honor, my name is Aaron Andrews, and I will be doing the processing. What is your occupation?
I'm a freelance news reporter.
Have you had trouble with your work in the past?
Yes.
Tell me about the troubles of the rest of your work.
I moved to London but had some difficulty regarding the royal family, and then in New York I had a misunderstanding of state rules.
What were the ramifications for the laws that you broke?
Can you rephrase that?
What were the consequences of the laws that you broke?
I didn't break any, I was accused, and I moved to Philly to start out.
Objection, lack of personal knowledge.
All right, this is your witness. So, go ahead.
Was Tatum Zoo's careless with her money by paying workers' comp to people who were faking?
What's the careless?
Were you trespassing on the private property of Franklin's Trench? Did you participate in the vandalization of property by giving artisan wire cutters?
I didn't give them to him directly, I accidentally left them in the Ivan's way.
Did you hear Tatum Zillies say that you paid for anything but time?
I did.
Does Tatum Zillies have a horrible safety record?
Yes.
How did you obtain this information?
I was told by someone at OCIS.
Did you use bribery?
I took them for their knowledge.
Your Honor, I would like to introduce the trench warfare article as Exhibit E.
All right, any objection?
F.
Yeah, Your Honor.
F?
Yes.
F. F's admitted.
Would you please read the highlighted portion of your article?
Look inside Project C's glossy brochures, and you will see, and what you will see is nothing but airy landscaping and happy theoretical residents. They refer to Franklin's Trench as a plot, but they don't tell you it's already tell you it's already home. In all of Project Z's propaganda and mayor's press conferences, there isn't a single mention of the living, breathing people who have made Franklin's Trench their own for the past 40 years.
Can you flip the page?
The little section.
Yes.
Then came Zillies. Zillies' history for cutting corners is well known throughout the construction industry. And with his back up against the wall, his time was no different. He blew up all safety protocols and procedures, added a second shift, and a few months later, even a third shift. Under the breakneck pace, the site itself became an utter mess. Even the shiny window panes of Franklin's Trench could not deflect the light from shining down and seeing what was really going on beneath the surface. Small wonder then that Franklin's Trench has had more reported injuries than any other construction site in Philadelphia over the past 50 years. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, at all construction sites in the United States in 2011, there were 5.6 injuries per 100 full-time construction workers. At Franklin's Trench, that ratio is an astonishing 15.7 injuries per 100, nearly 3 times the national average. And these are the people being trusted with lifting the largest roofing panels in the city's history, weighing millions of pounds.
Support, Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
My name is Sarah Bodner, and I shall be making the closing remarks in this case. This case consists of Tatum Zilius, a fraud and a cheapskate who tried his best to hide the dangers on the site. When things ended up being too dangerous, it resulted in the death of 2 human lives. Artisan, an innocent, mentally insane squatter who lived in the trench, and an employee at OCIS, Grace Hopper. Tatum Zilius is a greedy person. Zilius was money hungry and only wanted the profit he made from the homes. In the memorandum of understanding, it states that the faster Zilius gets things done, the more money he will make. Because of the money on the line, Zilius ignored the weather reports and decided to proceed with the lift without hearing back from the cities. Tatum Zilius acted in a negligent manner. The letter of licensing and inspection was found crumpled up in the trash. In the crane rental term sheet, it states that the maximum threshold of the crane is 2,750 tons. The roof panels weigh over 2,900 tons, and Tatum Zilius still decided to proceed with the lift. Zilius did not handle the site with safety and let his cars roam around. Even when Zilius built a fence to keep them out, Artie Dent still found his way in, and Zilius did nothing about it, which resulted in Artie Dent's death. Tatum Zilius acted in a reckless manner. Zilius has a horrible safety record. He stated he does not care about the squatters being hurt, and he had the safety checks on the site. The dangerous weather updates on August 31st, 2012 got ignored by Zilius. In the final OCIS action report, it states how many code violations were broken, and all the safety that was not followed by Zilius. The trench worker article states that Zilius misbehaved on the site. Zilius stole the green flag from one of the employees at OCIS and waved at the green operator. In Commonwealth versus Kellum, the individual left to care for the child treated it poorly and was shown evidence of malice. Zilius treated his site poorly, and it resulted in the death of 2 human lives. In Commonwealth versus Stefano, it states the definition of malice as a wickedness of disposition, hardness of heart, cruelty, a recklessness of consequences, and a mind regardless of social duty, although a particular person may not be intended to be injured. Even though Zilius may not have intended for anyone to get murdered, he still acted in an unjust manner, which led to 2 innocent people being killed. Although Zilius had a dream, it does not mean he is innocent. He took the easy way out and didn't respect the safety of others. He did whatever it took to meet the deadline. The site of Project Z had danger all around it. Having a dream does not make up for carelessly rushing to work on site, which resulted in the death of 2 human lives. The defense staff argued that Zilius hired so God-trusted people that failed at their jobs. Zilius bought the site to himself. It was his dream, no one else's. Being the site owner, he should have been on the site more. It's his job to observe his own site. He hired Emerson Turpin, his site supervisor. Zilius stated he wanted someone who could get things done, and that Emerson was the person to do so. When Zilius didn't like the work he was seeing on the site, he took over. With Zilius taking over, it left no room for anyone to try to stop him. Zilius got greedy and money hungry. He is a selfish person and did not take safety seriously. Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the evidence shown today proves that Tatum Zilius is indeed guilty of 3rd-degree murder. Maybe he had no intent for anyone to get injured, but when things on the site started going wrong, he did nothing about it. He was just in it for the money and didn't care what he had to do to get it. For these reasons, I implore you to find Tatum Zilius guilty of 3rd-degree murder. Thank you.
All right, this time we'll have closing argument from the defense.
May it please the court, Your Honor, and members of the jury. Let me tell you a story. A man has a dream to build a house for a homeless family. They need this house done within a month, but he's not a house builder. So he hires the best people he knows to help get the job done. A few weeks later, the man comes over to check on how the house is coming along, but to his horror, the foundation is barely laid. As you might imagine, the man gets upset because his trust has been abused. He encourages the work to speed up or else the family will not have a home. As the work continues though, nearby hooligans sabotage the building and eventually the house is destroyed and not able to be completed. Was this the fault of the man who had the dream? No, obviously not. This story relates to the case today. Tatum Zilius is a man who trusted in other people who did not live up to their responsibilities. He is also a man whose project was vandalized by reckless troublemakers. Now let's talk about the law. Legally, the prosecution must prove 3 facts. Grace Hopper is dead, Tatum Zilius killed her, and that he did so with malice, committing 3rd-degree murder. Before we dive in, let me provide a little bit of context. 1st-degree murder is intentional killing of a person by the defendant. Second-degree murder is the killing in which the defendant causes the death directly or is an accomplice. And third-degree murder is any other murder that isn't first or second degree. That is the murder that my client is being charged with today. While it is evident that Grace is dead, there is reasonable doubt that Tatum Zilius killed her. Let's address those doubts. First, Zilius trusted in others who did not judge the situation wisely. Zilius himself asked if the lift was safe after he heard of the revised weather report, and the crane operator replied, saying she was confident. And previously, Zilius, along with his crew, worked the problem over before they decided to go on. My client had given careful thought to the lift before he approved it. When Grace, the OCIS official, demanded a full on-site sweep, Zilius said, "I knew Micah didn't have another hour to lose." He was looking out for his crane operator and the conditions in which it was risky to stop. Even then, Zilius conducted a safety sweep within the code's guidelines. Plus, when Zilius confronted Grace about waving the red flag, Reese Dintner heard Grace say, "I guess you can do you want, you proceed." This makes the impression that Grace was willingly letting Zilius give the green flag. Also, Micah, the crane operator, was confident about the overweight panels. She was confident about everything. In addition to all this, Emerson Turkin, the site supervisor who had the job to supervise the site, irresponsibly chose to keep quiet about stopping the lift for the sake of her job, even when she was aware of hazards that the lift presented. Secondly, squatter sabotage is reasonable doubt to the fact that Tatum Zilius killed Grace. We heard today that R.D. Dent was obsessed with losing his home and desired to destroy the project. In R.D. Dent's master plan for his rebellion against this project, he passionately stated, "This wrench will allow me to rage against the alien machine." And what was found in the crane's gears that day, on August 31st? A wrench. Later that day, a fire axe or tool such as that went missing. Micah, the expert crane operator, said the squatter could have chopped the hydraulic lines with this axe, making the crane topple over. Furthermore, Micah was sure she had the crane under control, so someone else could have most definitely caused its failure. Third, consider the immediate weather change. When the panel hit the highest point of the lift, it caught the wind furiously. London testified that the strongest wind of the day tore through the site. Zilius didn't have control over this unexpected horrendous wind. Also, the previous panel had been successfully lifted. Today, the prosecution argues that Zilius was greedy, reckless, and negligent. Though he may have been, if Zilius did not cause the death of Grace Hopper, none of that matters and he's innocent. If the prosecution cannot prove that he caused the death, then the burden of proof has not been met. After hearing all this, members of the jury, may I remind you that our responsibility as the defense is not to prove that Tatum Zilius is innocent, but to cast reasonable doubt on his guilt. If there is any reasonable doubt presented, then the prosecution has not met the burden of proof, and you must side with the defense. So, given the facts of this case, we ask that the court find Tatum Zilius not guilty of third-degree murder. He is not the culprit because he was not the cause, rather a misunderstood man framed by a series of unfortunate events. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, well, we've heard all the evidence and arguments. I guess it's time to render our verdicts. Let's give them a round of applause. All right, how do we do this now? I guess the jurors need to deliberate. Yeah, Foreman, please rise. And would you like to announce the verdict?
I would. First of all, I just want to, let's give these students another round of applause. For your involvement, thank you for letting us use your courtroom and be involved today. It's fantastic. And thank you for all the jury members for coming out and being a part of this. And to the tutors, let's give a round of applause for our two challenged. Give a round of applause to all the people out here that have helped you get ready for today. which had Morningside South Huntsville as the prosecution and Monrovia Mondays as the defense. Your total score for South Huntsville was 91, and your total score was 84. So for round one, prosecution. Okay? Round two had South Huntsville as defense and Monrovia Mondays as prosecution. The total for those were both 87. And we double checked it. This is what was taking us so long, was to make sure we did not mess up. So you both had 87. So that means for a total scoring, South Huntsville was at 178 and Monrovia Mondays was at 171. So by 7 points, South Huntsville, you are the winners. Do you have anything else you'd like to add to?
Normally we have the jurors, do y'all have any comments that y'all want to share any feedback or